I'm Kat Udane of Foxhole Films.
And I'm Michaela McIntosh of Siren of the Pacific Productions.
We're your hosts of the Gatecrashers podcast.
Coming to you now. The Gatecrashers theme is by Derek Graham Sound.
Let it play out. Monika Dalman is a casting director and vertical production consultant with deep expertise across traditional and emerging vertical formats. She has cast 80-plus vertical series worldwide, along with UBCP ACTRA and SAG-AFTRA projects for major networks including CBC, PBS, Disney, and Marvel. As a founder of the Vertical Film and Short Series Alliance, VFSSA for short, she helped guide UBCP ACTRA in establishing North America's first vertical production test contract while consulting with networks to bridge mobile-first storytelling and professional standards. Known for discovering emerging talent and shaping on-brand characters, Monika bridges Legacy Studios' DNA with the new language of verticals.
Also, on today's episode, we have Alicia Reed. Alicia Reed is an actor, writer, and producer whose screen work has reached 200 million plus viewers across leading vertical platforms, including Real Short, Good Short, and Drama Wave. Known for her emotionally intelligent performances and creative range, she has become one of the defining faces of vertical storytelling. She recently co-starred in the first Real Short original developed in Canada, which you may hear a little bit more about on this episode. With more than 20 years in the luxury beauty industry, Alicia is a seasoned executive who has led major campaigns with Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, Neiman Marcus, and Goop. A storyteller at heart, she now channels that expertise as co-founder with Monika Dalman of the VFSSA, supporting a sustainable entertainment ecosystem in Canada that bridges artistry, innovation, and opportunity.
And welcome to Gatecrashers, Alicia and Monika. We are so excited to have you both on today.
Thank you for having us.
We're
excited to join you too.
We're so thrilled. Well, I want to start with, I think your bios, your resumes, all of it totally speaks for itself, but you've really taken this pathway, both of you, the last couple of years into the vertical space. And I would kind of love to know what those intro experiences were for you and also how you both met and decided to start collaborating together.
Do you want to start, Alicia?
Sure. Well, so my entry into vertical microdrama land was a bit of a kind of a fluke. So I had come back to entertainment after being out for about 20 years. I was pretty active in the late 90s.
Amazing.
Theater school, and that actually really was my thing. I really wanted to do particularly like period theater and Shakespeare. And But then I had a baby, and as life would have it, my life just took a different direction. And I was very quickly a single mom. So my version of responsible was to do what I could to make a life for us and raise her on my own. So I went into business, actually. I went into beauty. And so I did that for, about 20 years. And kind of always dabbled, which is a whole other story. But when my daughter was 17, I felt like I could really put myself back into the world, which of course, as you know, is all encompassing. And so she was old enough for me to be able to do that. And when I came back, it was a very different landscape. The opportunities that had been afforded to me were not the same, and the market had changed. Everything had changed. And so I was able to apply my business lens and, do a lot of hustling on my own. But at a certain point, I just felt like, wow, maybe this isn't the right, maybe it's done. Maybe it's over. Maybe I've chased my dream. And, I actually told my agent to take me off his roster. And then I got scouted on a platform called backstage.com. I had forgotten I'd even put a profile up. Thankfully, it pointed to my agent at the time. And so they went to him and he just handed the opportunity to me. He was like, I don't know what this is. I think it's an indie. Just go have fun with it. And then that quickly became back-to-back projects that were essentially supporting leads and then eventually a lead, which is a whole other conversation for women my age. And so I realized after doing a pretty deep dive into it, what the opportunity was, what the landscape was. I dealt with a lot of disruptive brands in my beauty realm. And so I really saw this as an opportunity in many, many ways to just like, it was a business that was coming. And I guess I had been on a particular project that felt a little unsavory, and Monika had been posting quite a bit about just professionalization and standards. And there was a particular post you'd put up, Monica, about like, hey, actors, if you're having experiences on these sets, please reach out to me. I want to know about them. And I was feeling very particularly vocal about this one experience I'd had. So I reached out and I sent her this humongous voice message, which thankfully she never got. But anyways, at a certain point, I think, how did we meet? I was assisting a friend of mine who's an actor about town, Bart Anderson. He's been around for decades and he teaches, and we sort of co-led a studio together. And I was like, we should bring Monika Dalman in to do a talk about vertical microdramas and really start educating people. That's how we met. We did a little panel together. And then shortly after, we were like, hey, I think we need to come together to like elevate and professionalize and standardize.
Yeah.
And so that's really where things took off.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my blurb.
And Monika.
I've been casting for almost a decade, pretty much every size project I've cast. As a freelancer, like you kind of take the work that comes your way and explore what that contract is going to look like and then go from there. So I've done commercials, feature films, union, non-union projects, video games, TV, everything. And around 2023, one of the producers that I worked with on other things came to me with verticals. And at first we actually weren't even made aware that it was a vertical. Like there wasn't a lot of information being shared. They had obviously been hired as a service producer, but I could tell right away the project was a little bit different. So like I could tell that, first of all, they said, oh, we're shooting with the cameras upright, but we didn't realize that meant how the edit would be broken into small chunks, 60 to 90 seconds or anything like that. And the casting was a bit different because we were really looking for soap opera looks.
Yeah.
Above all. And then over time, a few more came my way. And eventually, I think in March 2023 was when they really started to flow into Vancouver, and a lot of contracts were coming my way for these. And I was really struggling with the behavior of some of the producers and some of the expectations on the projects. And I saw that, they weren't going anywhere. They were flying at us high speed from everywhere in the world, moving into North America. And so I saw, the more I looked into it, I realized there's nothing inherently unsafe or dangerous or problematic about shooting these, but a lot of the service production companies that were in that space, they weren't really familiar with how to run a film set with the same actors day after day for doing a narrative project. And so I decided to stay in the game with the hope of making it better for everybody, safer for crew, safer for cast, focusing on educating producers that are wanting to be educated and willing to be, elevating those teams. And I guess in hopes, Alicia and I are hoping, and I think it's happening, the projects will improve. And I don't mean the quality, even just the quality. I mean just the experience of working on a vertical set will improve, and it has. And we're really getting there, which is really exciting.
Yeah. A lot of what we hear, I think at this point, there's always, when you have something really disruptive and innovative, there's a journey that it usually takes. And in the marketing world, we talk about crossing the chasm from early adopters and innovators and early adopters to the mass market. And we're sort of in the midst of crossing that chasm. Because really what vertical microdramas are an intersection of tech and entertainment. They're not replacing traditional film and TV, and they're actually not even that new. It's essentially a telenovela merged with a Hallmark that's just been repackaged, right? In a different format with different math, a different formula.
Yeah.
And so, but I think something that Monika and I really recognized individually and together when we first started working together was that this new format that was just sort of taking off and exploding and was everywhere, seemed to be everywhere, actually was everywhere. Like the level of production was so massive that people were being employed and on a regular basis. And, as an actor who was dying to get on a union sets and dying to do, big streamer projects and legacy studio projects. Here I am on set with Hallmark Lifetime Movie of the Week vets who are like making their livelihoods on back-to-back projects.
Yeah.
I shot in LA and we've shot on location literally next door to the Warner Brothers site. And you could see the parking lot from like our green room. And it was like a Tuesday and the parking lot wasn't even half full. And meanwhile on our set, now this is the LA version, but like we had Emmy award winning art departments and our hair and makeup artist was like Days of Our Lives soap opera vet.
Wow.
Right. And so Monica and I were like, wow, okay, right now. And so what we're talking about today is not the landscape that it was like a year ago. But
Yeah.
at that time, the projects were owned overseas, predominantly in China, not just in China, Japan, India, Korea, in parts of Europe, but for the most part, China. And so we were sort of at service to all of that and recognized that of the 3,000 projects that were being produced globally on a monthly basis, that really what the owners of this IP, this intellectual property, needed was just a group of people who knew how to speak English and looked a certain way, meaning go anywhere they wanted. So if they were forced with dealing with people who are trying to standardize, elevate, professionalize, contract, and to the tune of working with unions, working with agents, working with seasoned professionals, they might not like that and might want to move away. And we recognized that that would threaten the livelihood of these individuals who had work available to them when for so long they hadn't because of the strikes and, COVID, whatever, and productions moving to more cost-effective regions. So that was also a big reason why Monica and I wanted to come together and co-found the Vertical Film and Short Series Alliance, because we recognized the livelihoods that were being supported and we wanted that to be sustained. And further to that, we really wanted our region here in Vancouver to be a hub, because here we were taking something that was new and creating a system and a skill set and training people in how to make these, knowing that eventually it wasn't just going to be owned in China. It was going to be something that would run alongside traditional film and TV here in North America.
Yeah, and I think if there's any take home, it's that vertical microdrama is not replacing film and TV. We're effectively just very, very lucky that at a time where traditional film and TV is working through its issues, it's been a really hard decade, right? Where we've had many strikes, we've had stressful political climates, we've had COVID, we've had a lot of restructuring in terms of how film and TV even work in the first place. I feel like for a while streaming was new media, and in the last few years it sort of shifted into being recognized as being more mainstream film and TV. And so a lot of these agreements that the various unions have had in North America, whether it's directors or crew or actors or writers, that's all shifting, and we're looking at the industry. It's like things were shook up for a while and now the dust is starting to settle and also being shaken up again. And so we're very fortunate that verticals aren't replacing film and TV. They aren't even film and TV. What they are literary apps and web novels that have been made into screenplays that are now visual, and you watch them on an app. So your audience is not, there's crossover of course, but your audience is not the same. Verticals are meant to be watched on your phone, and they are meant to be watched alone. You're not inviting your friends over or going to a theater to watch verticals. The way that they're structured, the way that they are edited, in fact, they're edited in 1080p, right? People always want to make them, they're not being watched in HD. They're being watched in 1080p, right? Yeah. They are meant to be watched small. They're meant to be watched alone. They're meant to be watched on the phone. These are not taking from film and TV. They are actually compensating for a loss of work in mainstream film and TV. They're supplementing it, and they would be supplementing it whether mainstream film and TV existed or not. It just so happens that it's a rough time, and there are some transferable skills here. And that's, I think, part of why we're so grateful. But whenever we're reached out a lot. I mean, I'm sure we get 100 emails a day. And a huge number, and a huge number of the people that are reaching out to us are from the traditional film and TV world. They don't have work right now. Sometimes they go in really heavy, believing that this is just an easier version of what they do, but it's not. It's a very different product and a very different audience and a very different skill set. And we always like to tell them that these vertical microdramas, they are using the same alphabet as film and TV, but they're not using the same language. And so what we're watching, what we're watching unfold in real time, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on any social media, if you're on any platform where they're discussing the struggles with film and TV right now, There's a lot of talk about, big networks getting into the game, legacy studios getting into the game. And the reality is a lot of them have been in the game for a while. And a lot of the people that are entering the space now are entering with like quite a, I don't know, what should I say, like a big dick energy that is like a little bit too big because like they come in and they're like, oh, I've run a studio, like I've done this, I bet I can do your little movies. And then a lot of them are getting financed. Yeah, like a lot of them are getting, like we have had clients that have come to us and said that companies that we have seen in Deadline, in Variety and Hollywood Reporter that are being reported as investing billions of dollars over the next few years in this space, that they've worked with them and they don't know what they're doing. And so it's been very eye-opening. Yeah, it's been very eye-opening. There are a lot of assumptions on how these are made. There's a lot of assumptions on what people are looking for. And I think everyone recognizes the struggle right now in traditional film and TV, traditional media. And I don't know, maybe I really think it was the SAG announcement that caused the pouring out
I'll
of
bet.
interest, but there's not an understanding at large of how they make money, how they work, what they even are. A lot of people will contact us and say, I'm going to make a vertical empire. Could you ladies, of course, could you tell us how to do it? We have no money. We have no idea what to do to make it, but we see that you ladies know how to do it. So if you could just maybe tell us how to do it.
I just have to preface this because Monica has spent the last few years offering such deep knowledge, experience, and education for free. And when she and I had been working for a few months together on our advocacy side, I was like, girl, like really, you need to be packaging what you're doing formally and actually telling people that we're moving into the era of consultation, because where this is going is no longer exploratory and experimental. This is where we're at now. Like we're now at that, if you look at that bell curve of that crossing the chasm, we've moved from this sort of like, you hear it described all the time as the Wild West, which means exploratory, experimental, where we've actually created a system. We've created a skill set that is uniquely our own. Here, our Western version of this format, which is that math and that packaging of the telenovela with the hallmark, that has become what we think of as vertical microdrama. And by the way, there's like 5 different ways to describe what this is. It's the verticals, it's the microdrama, it's the short series. What is it? What we're talking specifically about are these apps that deliver this very particular genre, which is the microdrama, which is watched, as Monica mentioned, alone and in private, very specific. But we've got this skill set that we've created now. And what has any business person worth their salt in any industry, when they see something innovating and come and blowing through and getting headlines like a $7 billion industry predicted to more than double by next year, they're going to be like, I want a piece of that. I want, what do you mean? It's internationally owned IP. What do you mean it's Chinese owned IP? But they're making our soil with our domestic cast and crew, but they get all the profits while our parking lot is sitting mostly empty. But what it is that they're looking at is this very specific math, is 60 to 80 episodes broken up in 1.5 to 2, or 60 to 80, episodes broken up in 1.5 to 2 minutes. Very particular storyline purchased on these apps. But what's really intriguing about that math is you have a movie of the week, almost feature length product that you can go to market in about 8 weeks if you really huff it, and for less than it costs to make one episode of TV. In fact, you could probably make 5 or 6 episodes of TV for how much it costs. And you can do it well because your crews are seasoned crew and trained crew now who make gorgeous projects. Beautiful. And we're at this point now where we are at broadcast quality, network level products. And now legacy studios and broadcasters are coming in and going, we're launching our own divisions. And what do we need to do to make that happen? And so that's, I think, now where we're at. Whereas we used to be in the Wild West, we're not anymore.
That's what I think it is the Wild West still, because I feel like we're not sure. They're saying they're going to do a thing, but they're not really sure how to do it, which is, I think, the stage that we're at. So like they're trying to step in. And I think what's really interesting is that it's a lot. Okay, so let's look at who is driving the vertical world and all the money that's coming in. Who is paying to watch verticals? It's women 30 to 65.
Women.
Right?
Yeah.
So effectively, women, and where did these stories first originate? They started on web apps where you are like Wattpad or Inkit, or I don't know the names of the rest of them.
Yeah.
And who's writing these stories? It's women or
Women.
girls, in a lot of cases, girls. So the girls and women are writing the stories. Of course, there are going to be some exceptions, but the majority, the girls and women are paying to watch the stories when they are on the apps. But when you go on LinkedIn, when you go on Facebook, or when you go on any industry place, who is saying that they're going to build a vertical empire? I'll give you 2 guesses of gender and race. And I'm pretty sure you're going to nail it down right away. Ta-da!
White
Genius! You got it. It was a really good guess. And so we're approached by a lot of them. And the first thing they tell us is that they've never seen one before. Then they tell us that
how can you come into a space and look down on the space that you're trying to break into?
We have so many people literally illustrate. Don't you think that what I'm doing is here and what you're doing is here?
Actually did that with their hands.
Then stay in their lane. They can stay where they are.
What we're saying to them now is, well, since you're so successful at what you do, maybe you don't have time to do vertical stuff. And then they're like, well, we're looking for more ways to, and we're like, nope. If you are so successful at traditional film and TV right now, do not let our lesser little movies keep you from all the success that you've been having in the film industry right now. I'm sure we can pull up deadline articles about all the success they're having.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time historically
funny
that men are profiting off of the work that women have put in.
Yeah, so we're finding that really interesting to experience. So I think so aggressively at the moment. And it's not that, and I have to say that we have clients, of course, we have lots of white male clients, and some of them are a dream. And those clients are the ones who come in and they're like, we've been watching these for weeks, right? One of the clients, who I won't name, their wife messaged, because I happen to know their wife, and was like, they're watching them way more than they're saying. They're watching them all the time. They're watching them together. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm so proud. We are like, the first thing I think that we try to get through with when people are approaching us about it is like, it is not a threat to your traditional film and TV. It's a supplement that is here, that is allowing you to make money while still filming something. Right?
It's like comic books. It's like comic books when, people
were weird about comic books. Like when
they must have been
in the 50s, I guess. Like
intelligent and
and it's
you can read comic books and still books.
Graphic novels. Yeah. We call them now because we know that they're not necessarily anything less than a piece of literature. They're just different.
Yeah. And what's interesting is the clients from Asia always call verticals the play. They call it the play, which I think I'm not sure if it's a translation thing or what, but it's very consistent, and I find it adorable and kind of it feels more respectful in a way. Like if someone's in a play, that sounds like it's so sophisticated and so refined, right?
And there is an art to it too. There really is an art to these, from how they're written to how they're performed to how they're shot and directed. It's and that's what I meant by, I think we're no longer in the Wild West, in that when these first emerged and we had sort of new filmmakers, many of whom hadn't really, made films, and it was just sort of just making to meet the demand. Whereas now we have that system and that skill set. We understand what this is and the art form, and we can articulate it as Monika does so beautifully. By the way, Monika has literally written the book on how to write one. She literally has written we have a whole consultation package for directors wanting to transition into the space because it is so specific.
Which we'll link in the description.
Yeah, we'll link all of this.
For all those listening.
Your little, I should say little, but it's quite long. Your PDF that's kind of the intro on how to write verticals. It's fabulous.
Yeah. Our little cheat sheet. Yeah. So, and as a community at large, we have established that system and those skill sets. Monika knows how to put that into words, which is something I admire so deeply about you, Monika.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, so it's like we actually can tell people what this is and what makes it unique and what makes it work. which is what
Yeah.
now
Mhm.
all of our clients are coming to us to translate into revenue.
Yeah, and
Of
people want to
course.
watch these. Like, I've watched a lot of them now. Because I cast a lot of them, I like to watch the ones that I cast. Or at
Yes.
least ones that
Oh,
were
yeah.
filmed here, so I can see the actors and
Yeah.
I can like recognize them and like kind of follow. A lot of actors when they first started at these, they were very new actors and they weren't necessarily like,
Mm.
where they might want to be as actors. And what's actually kind
Mm.
of fun about watching these is if you watch the earlier verticals and then you watch the same actors in verticals later on, you can actually see
Yeah.
their growth as an actor, which
Wow.
is really kind of
Yeah.
fun.
Mhm.
That's cool.
But when I'm watching them, I can realize that there's a reason people watch them. Like, I think we went to a film festival last year and the films were all really good at the film festival, but they were all really dark. And
Yep.
sitting at that film festival, yeah, like watching the dark films was hit a bit different than it would have a year or two before. Because it was like I was
Mhm.
actually like kind of going into that festival a bit stressed because of the world. And then I was
Yeah.
sitting through
Yeah.
like more sad stories that I wasn't thinking about before I
Yeah.
came. And then I was leaving back into the world that is like what it is right now. And I think that we've always used these stories culturally to cope with how messed up the outside world is. And
Yep.
watching these, even
Yeah.
though the drama is big, I mean, like people are slapping and people are like
Yeah.
threatening with like horrible, you know what I mean? Like it's very dramatic. Like Alicia
Yes.
had said at one of the first panels we ever did, at the end of the day, like the good guy always wins. And we
Yep.
kind of know,
Mhm.
like, as if we're watching a movie of the week, that like it's all going to turn out in the end. And the problems that they have and what they experience in the story is so outside of anything that
Yes.
we really need to think about all the time, right? And like
Yeah.
going into like, it feels like watching like a multi-million-dollar film right now. Like not to insult it. I don't know if you should keep this in. I'll leave it up to you. But like The Last of Us season 1, like I loved watching it. I was like, this is great.
Yes.
But then when the second season came out, I was like, I'm sorry, I'm out. I was like, the world is too
Yeah.
much like this now. Like
Yeah.
that I can't
Yep.
even do it anymore. Like I need more levity. Like I need something that is not an immediate, like we asked, like there's I think someone who does, I can't remember his name. He's some guy from Santa Clarita who is a man who does maybe videos on TikTok or something. But he said, like, as kids, we had to read 1984. But right now, our kids have to live
They're
1984.
experiencing it.
This is
Yeah.
not like you don't want them sitting and having to like
No.
read and engage in something all the time that is like actually
Yeah.
happening right now. And I think that we have these as a coping mechanism, right? And
Yeah.
Alicia and I have dug really deep into the history of soap opera and the genre in general.
Mm.
Like I can't remember if it was
Where was it?
it
What
was on Vice. We found a Vice
Vice, it was
article
on
that
Vice.
was about the soap opera called Passions, which is one that was always on TV when
Yes.
like in the 90s maybe.
Yeah.
And the article was about all the criticism that they had about the violence, the
Wow.
rape, all of that stuff that was the content of
Particularly
soap opera.
2005, they deemed it the year of the rape.
Yeah, like that's how bad it was in like how much soap operas
Wow.
had in them. So when people are like
Wow.
reaching us to us now and they're like, these are bad, where did these come from out of nowhere? And it's like, we did not start the fire, people. Like go
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Google. Like all we've done is taken
It's just
it
repackaged.
and repackaged it. And like my son and I, when we were filming in LA, we watched all of Ruby, which was in Spanish. So we really didn't know what they were saying, but like you could get a good sense of what was happening. I mean,
visually.
yeah, like they were yelling at who they were yelling at. They were having sex with who they were having sex with. They were throwing people off bridges. They were
Yeah.
crashing through the ceiling and landing, breaking glass. Like we did not invent this. In fact,
No. Yeah.
like it actually like every culture has soap operas and they all have tropes. Like in
Mhm.
the Bollywood soap operas have someone who will get choked because they'll get pushed and they'll grab the curtain and you'll see the actor like wrap the curtain around their own neck because limited stunt
Yeah.
coordination, I guess. And then they would die.
Yeah.
And then like when people die in those, you go to their funeral and there's like an open casket, and then then like the real person will walk in the room, and then you look down at the body and it's like, who is that? And they never explain that. But
Right.
like
They all
it's
have
all the
virtual-
same.
a
Like
few plot holes.
that's
They all
not
have-
important. It's
But
not
you know what I
important.
think is so important about this is also understanding why this exists in the first place and what is it that makes this so popular. And I think that I do believe that it is a reflection on what we're living through right now, and particularly for women and the women that make up this audience. And the redemption arc that's present in all of these stories is really what I believe is the biggest selling feature of all.
Yeah.
Because if you actually look at the audience demographic and understand quite likely the psychology that's at play, it's the redemption arc that they get to live through watching what our heroine goes through, because she does always win and the bad guys always lose, and sometimes really badly. Like I play the villain often. I can't tell you how many times my last scene involves me getting dragged out kicking and screaming by like a humongous goon, you know, someone who's
and it feels
fingernails
like
off or like shoot me in the back of the head, right? Horrible. But
Yeah. It's also like one thing that is also that every platform, because I've worked with more than 20 platforms worldwide. And so I hear a lot about what they're expecting and what stories they want to hear. And one thing they always want is they never want there to be any question who the bad guy is. And I kind of find that fascinating. I kind of find that fascinating from the perspective of a woman, because isn't so much of our existence as a woman wondering all the time who the bad guy is, and it's never obvious at first. Do you know what I mean? Like, like, and I see it a lot, even like at a lighter level in the workplace. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we're like, okay, well, do these guys think we're smart? Are they trying to take money or something from us? Right. And at first I was like, why do they want to make it clear? Because in film and TV, when it's so artistic, it's like you're wondering and like, ooh, he's a good killer, he's not. And it's like, and then and then to say that these are comforting, I think what is comforting is knowing they're the bad guy. Knowing this person is good, knowing this person is bad. Because every second of every day, especially in business, or if you're young and dating, or if you're older and dating, or if you're married, or wherever you are as a woman, you're always wondering who's actually being nice to you because they like you, who is being nice to you because they're trying to use you, who is good, who is bad, and watching people like sort of go in and out of the space of being, they're a villain, they're not a villain. In verticals, they say, you know what, in the first 10 episodes, which are the most important, we want to know who's good, who's bad. And we don't want to wonder about it. And then when you watch them, like I would challenge you to like think about how comforting it is to just know, well, this person's here and they're bad, and this person's here and they're good.
So true.
And being able to just like, if you could be told as a person, like about every person in your life, well, this is a bad person, this is a good person. Like, you would be, so much of your anxiety day to day would be gone. And you don't realize you have
to not have to follow it up with like, well, they're a bad person, but like they went through all this as like a child, or this happened to them, or like, so it's excused, or it's
we don't get morally gray characters in verticals.
And the villains never have an arc. They're not allowed to have an arc. The villains never get better. But, you know, I do wonder, what does that say about our ability to trust our own instincts? Because I think that's another element to this, is like, who's really watching these, and why do they need that to be so upfront?
I think they don't. I think they want I think that they, in the same way that as women, we get decision fatigue in a way that I do not think men get it. I became I was a stay-at-home parent for like 13 years. And then I told my husband I wanted to trade. And when we traded, he's a much better stay-at-home person than I am. He's really good at cooking and cleaning in a way that I was definitely not.
That's amazing.
When I think about it's a real, if you're a man who has a stay-at-home wife, like this is a very good situation for you. Like, he goes to Costco. The stuff just shows up. Do you know what I mean? Like the food shows up. The meal shows up. The kids get picked up when they need to. They get dropped off when they need to. All these things happen. And like there's still is like, you get a decision fatigue, I think, when you're in charge of everything. And I feel like you don't want to make decisions all the time. But I think there's also like an instinct fatigue that you get, where it's like, I don't want to have my instincts on right now. I just want to watch this happen and know that it's going to be a little bit messed up at first, but then it's all going to be fine. And like, it is so, and you don't really have to keep track of that much either. Like, you're not having to hold on to details. If people are talking to you, like they haven't, like, it's relaxing. And film and TV has gotten to a very intense and complex place. And it is really awesome to see. But if you go back and watch, there was a film from the 80s that we watched that was filmed in Canada. It was like a really like a body horror film, and it was quite gory, but at the end of it, it's like they explain everything. Do you know what I mean? Like they were like, and this is why, and it's the end, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, they don't really do that anymore. Because I think for a while, people were being all mysterious. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What's the twist?
Yeah.
Leave
But
you
it's
to
like,
your own, like,
yeah. And if you're trying to make choices
Yeah.
and analyze things all day, like you're going to be like,
yeah.
if you want to shut down, like you can just shut down later. You don't need
That's
to
a
worry.
really good
that.
point, actually. That's a really good point about the decision fatigue and the, you know, because actually I think we do kind of live in this weird time where we get a lot of conflicting messages. Like you should believe in yourself, but you should also strive to be seen the way you, for the job that you want to have. You should love aging and what your body's doing, but you should go shop by concern at Sephora and be concerned about your aging.
Yeah.
And so I like the idea, Monica, of being presented a piece of material that's kind of very obvious and gives you that sense of, it's like a Hallmark. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You want to watch it anyway because it makes you feel kind of nice and fuzzy. And I think that's an observation, Monica. Thank you.
And I think
It
it's
really
important
is.
that, like, that's really different than, like, when the guy who met with us that did the thing,
Can't.
like,
Yeah,
it was really, he was not a good business person. But like for us, I think we were like, yeah, we don't actually need it to be based, like we're not trying to win an Oscar. We're not trying to win an Emmy with these. These are on your phone and they're so that you can have a good time and decompress. Right?
Yeah.
And so I find people feel very like threatened by it. But I think a lot of it is insecurity and not having taken
that
the
whole
time
we
to
want to
watch.
make it better conversation. But it's like, if you understand this from a business perspective, right? This is a product and it's working, it's selling. So you know, you've heard the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's not really much here to fix, except for maybe some elevating of the experience by the people who make them. Maybe some pay structure. Some professionalization in that sense. And of course, we can write better scripts and we can do all kinds of things that might elevate the material. And that probably is going to happen
for sure.
next level. But for the existing audience who's watching vertical micro dramas, they like what they're getting.
We're watching them now.
Yeah.
It's got an audience.
I think a lot, like, I used to make fun of my mom because she would watch Hallmarks all the time. Like, I would come home and she just, you know, and she was a nurse. So she was like, I deal with horror all day, you know, like people are coming in and out of the ER. They're coming in and out of, like, she worked in a rehab center for a while. Like, I get that all day. Like, I just want to come home and watch my nice little, like, romance and you know, enjoy it. And there's so many, I think, too, because women, like, feel maybe more empathy and on a deeper level sometimes than men allow them to have access to, that maybe aren't as, you know, evolved in their emotional practices, that because we feel so deeply, it's like just sometimes it's nice to check out and have something that is a distraction and is just fun and entertaining and kind of transports you so you don't have to think about all the things that are happening.
Yeah, I feel that way about horror films too, honestly.
Yeah, people do.
I feel that same, and I think what it touches on what you were just talking about is that there's always the final girl. You know who the villain is, you know who the monster is, and you kind of know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So there's an odd comfort in that.
Yeah. Totally.
And like, well, at least that's not happening to me, so my anxiety is lower.
Well, you learn a lot about, they open the door, don't go through it. I will say there are some things that we do, I think we could get away from. And that is, you know, some of the very intense, the types of abuse and the women abusing women in a certain way and men abusing women in a certain way. Like those are, I think, I shouldn't say that those should be obvious improvements we'd like to make, but I guess it, you know, it bodes saying out loud. So there are some things that, you know, we could improve upon in the material itself. But generally speaking, you know.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting about that too, like I said, we did a pretty deep dive, and what we did learn was that these were, or sorry, my chair is weird. Is that these have been happening for a decade, verticals in Asia, just under a decade probably. And they moved here in 2020, late 2022, early 2023, because of different rules that the government had in place for what was allowed to be filmed and what wasn't. And
Mm.
the first stories for years were really, and it's quite smart, is they'd be written in Mandarin or Cantonese. They would pass them on to the company in North America. They would do a direct translation and then they would localize. So the
Yeah.
direct translation didn't always make sense, right? There would need to be edits
Yeah.
and then to make it believable that it was happening in like North America, usually in LA or New York. And then a lot of the cultural, like things that are culturally accepted
Yeah.
are different, and like rape
Mhm.
laws in Asia are very different. I think in a few countries it
Yeah.
only recently became against the law, like without a
Wow.
doubt against the law. I don't
Mm.
want to misname a country, but definitely there was one country recently that just passed a law that rape was always illegal. Um like, and it was
Wow.
not a country that you'd expect.
Yeah.
So like a lot of those storylines and little plots and tropes, they come from that. And I think
Mm.
it was very hard to argue at first because they have the data on what is selling, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it was hard for them to argue. They just wanted to make more money in a different language, right? And they're like, well, if we change
Mm.
this, maybe we won't make as much money. So Jen Cooper at Vertical Drama Love did a survey where she asked audiences what they thought should change, what they did like, what they didn't like. And I thought that that was a
Mm.
smart marketing tool. But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, the best data that platforms have is the data that they have from what people are watching. And I
Yeah.
did work in research before and research design, survey design, and people are actually really, really bad at self-reporting correctly on surveys.
Yes.
So it's
Mhm.
very tricky. Like I think it's useful in that it's interesting market research, but at the end of the day, the strongest research is actually the actual data of what people are watching and what they do like,
Yeah.
because it was very eye-opening from the survey, and it could be the sample size. I won't get too nerdy about it, but what people were reporting as what they liked and didn't like is very different than what
Yeah.
the platforms are saying. But that doesn't mean that it's useless, but it does open the question of, if something sells the most, is that reason enough to continue making it, even if if an ethical or moral
Right.
sort of boundary is being crossed,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's just
Yeah.
like a piece of the pie, but
Yeah.
that is largely why we have those strange, like there's a lot, too much rape, like rape as a threat or rape as
Mhm.
like they'll make it okay. Once we ask them to change that, they'd be like, what if it's the bad
Yeah.
person that gets, do you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
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 and then it's like, no, still not allowed
No,
here.
still no.
Like still not gonna work. But there are a lot of those discussions, I think, that have been taking place ongoing.
Yeah.
And really for me, when it
Yeah.
comes to the casting piece, like especially when it comes to nudity, this is a talk we have a lot a talk we have a lot with the platforms directly, and one I have with agents and actors is
Yeah.
that because these are an app, because they're in the Play Store, because they're in iTunes, they can't be porn. They're not allowed to have full nudity. That it
Yep.
would be
Yep.
taken off the
Which
App
I
Store.
love.
Yeah,
And even if you
exactly.
screenshot, like, I don't know if you've ever tried to screenshot or screen grab, you can't. It's blacked out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
I
almost
always try to tell them,
safer
like,
than TV in that sense. Yeah.
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 And then at the end of the day, for me, what matters is, okay, it might be partial nudity or it might be implied nudity, but in the edit. But for me as a casting director, my question is, how will you keep the actors safe that
Yeah.
day on set? Are they going to
Mhm.
be freezing
Yeah.
cold? Is it going to be a closed set? Is it going to be intimacy
Mhm.
coordinator? You might not show like
Yeah.
the front on the camera, but like what's covering them up while they're
Yeah.
filming it. So
Yeah.
things like
Modesty
that.
garments.
Yeah. But when it comes to the actual nudity and like, is it porn questions? Like, absolutely it's not. And there isn't nudity. They're ad partners
Mhm.
and the actual like apps that sell apps wouldn't allow it. So it would be the end of
Yeah.
it. You'll find more nudity on like HBO,
Heated
right? It would be
rivalry.
different.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
exactly. So, I mean, it's like, I don't know, people make a lot of assumptions, but it's a
Mm.
really good space to be in now if you're willing to do it the right way. Lots of
Yeah.
people
Mm.
are blowing money now on guessing how to do it when there are resources out there, ourselves included, that
Whew.
know how to do it. And the
Yeah.
producers that have made these for years and years and years, one of them
Yeah.
Austin is going to be speaking at the CMPA. Is it called CMPA conference?
Yeah.
And is it Snow Story is the name of his company? That
Okay.
they've done them for 3 years. And like,
Yeah.
he would be a top resource to talk to. Like, this is a producer who's done like 30 plus, right?
Yeah.
But there are people in
Wow.
North America that have been doing this for a really long time. And there is sort of I think a stress among those people also, that now that it's going mainstream, that they're going to it's going to be like
Lose
sand
opportunity.
going between their fingers. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think that the industry as we see it and as we've seen it will largely stay the same, and then there will maybe be some bigger players
Additions.
investing. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
even while all this talk is happening, like the teams that have largely been producing these since the start, they're all on set today, right? They're carrying
Yeah.
on as normal, and it's been
Yeah.
interesting.
And 2 more quick things I want to ask, just because I know we have 5 minutes and I want to respect all the time you've given today. Alicia, you touched on this, so I think we have to talk about it. But it's always challenging to be a woman aging in the industry as an actor. And there's a lot of, you're not going to have roles when you're older, or you need to look a certain way, or you need to do. I would love for you to just kind of speak on how you've taken your power back in this space, what kind of words of wisdom you have for women.
Gosh. Well, to my
No pressure.
No pressure. Something, I've heard this said often by many women who at the time were older than me. But when I turned 50, I stopped giving a fuck. And it wasn't premeditated. There is something I think very magical about stepping into, we never stop evolving and maturing. But I think as women at a particular life stage, I went to clinical counseling school. And one of my biggest takeaways was that human beings are far more alike than we are different. In fact, we're more similar than we are dissimilar. If we experience an event as something traumatic, it lodges itself in the brain and the body and the nervous system in the same way, and the behaviors associated with it are universal. Doesn't matter what race, culture, age you are. So as a woman in a particular stage of our life cycle, I think I just hit that magical place where I'd done the work to become as self-aware as I could at this stage and step into a place where, I don't know, self-respect, respect for others, just a place where I could just let myself be and be how I am and allow myself to be enough. Coming back into entertainment, I think with that, has given me a little bit of grace for myself to go, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm not here in this industry to try to fit myself into a particular place or role. I don't need to be on the cover of Vogue magazine. I don't need to be the most beautiful woman in the world. I don't need to win an Oscar. I don't need to be admired for that. What I want to do is take my life experience and apply it to telling stories to help people either see themselves or the world in a way that might give them a perspective that shifts them into something hopeful or optimistic. And I didn't have that actually when I was younger. I could not have carried the emotional weight or responsibility of telling that kind of a story when I was a very insecure 26-year-old who hadn't worked my shit out. Yeah. So it's interesting to step into the microdrama world, which isn't my entire artistic world, by the way.
No, you do so much. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have aspirations beyond just playing a microdrama villain on screen.
Yes.
But what it has given me has been an opportunity to step into the world of storytelling and kind of examine all of those aspects and then have these kinds of conversations. It's almost more important to me, the conversations that come about when we watch a piece of storytelling than it is the actual storytelling. It's like, what do we do with it? It's just like my mom used to say to me, well, Alicia, it's great to have all this inspiration or read this book or, take home a quote or whatever. But what are you actually going to do with that now? How are you going to apply that to your life? And it's the application.
The transformation. Yeah.
I love
hope that answers your question.
And oh my gosh,
Absolutely.
yes, it's so inspiring, and I think people need to hear it because we've recently had conversations on the podcast with people that are like, oh, I'm going to start pursuing directing now because I'm going to age out of the industry or so I think that's a beautiful thing for you to share.
Look at what streamers have done for us, though. Streamers, because the demand for content is so massive and we know so much more through our data and analytics. Women want to watch stories about women. of all ages.
Yes.
All of us
Yeah.
want to watch all kinds of stories. And so
Yes.
I think we're also at that stage too in entertainment where it's like, and by the way, entertainment usually follows beauty and fashion, if you note from a trend,
Yes.
right? So in
Mhm.
beauty, we'd moved way into all ages and diversity and stuff. And so
Mhm.
entertainment follows that too. But I think we're also there as well. So I would say to women of all ages,
Yeah.
and go write your own stories.
Yes. And if you have like 1 or 2 more minutes, you have now launched an acting curriculum specifically for verticals. If you want to touch
Yes.
on that and where people can find it and who it's for.
Yeah, so my background is in curriculum design and instruction, and I was a teacher many, many years ago. But what I really love is designing curriculums and helping actual instructors and teachers, professors, apply that with their students. And I noticed there was definitely a gap where there's 2 gaps. So first, we have a whole bunch of actors who are trained to act. And they're ready to go. They're ready for your audition. They're ready to go to set, but there isn't a lot of traditional film and TV work. And we've been telling these actors for years, especially I would say if you were a teenager in your early 20s during COVID, it was a really awful time to start get into the industry because
Yeah.
first it was COVID, then it was like union
Yeah.
strikes and just not a lot of work up here for non-union actors and worldwide, I guess. But
Yeah.
I saw that they would benefit from vertical specific training.
Yeah.
And then the other gap
Mm.
I saw is that we have acting schools up here that people are attending and they don't have much to offer right now if they've trained everybody. So this
Yeah.
curriculum is an opportunity for those schools to add something new to their offerings for classes. And then everyone works together. They'll be ready to put
Yeah.
themselves in front of casting and put themselves in front of the platforms. And so we developed a very extensive, it took about 6 months curriculum that's based on watching thousands of the self-tapes, sitting in the rooms with these platforms, with the directors, with the stakeholders, and hearing what they do like and don't like.
Mm.
And, it's very thorough. We also have a whole section on on-set conduct, how to be safe, how to recognize an unsafe situation
Love
on the
that.
set and how to navigate that.
Oh.
So really it's designed to be licensed to existing schools and existing instructors, and we're screening them
Amazing.
out and giving their teachers training and onboarding first. And then our hope is that we'll get it in person at schools across North America. And we're actually in a test right now. We'll be starting a test with a
Yeah.
big acting school that we'll try doing it online just so that we can see how it works out. But
Yeah.
if anyone's interested in that,
Cool.
they can contact our team and we'll meet with you and set it up. And hopefully we'll have some in-person schools within a month or 2 that are ready to launch, because I think it's going to make a pretty big difference in how, like, I can see that the ability to do this and the look are there in so many actors, but they just
Yeah.
haven't been trained for this format, right? So I
Yeah.
feel like it's the missing piece for a lot of people, and then they'll be working a lot. And there's more of these getting filmed than ever now. So we're in
Yeah.
demand of actors that are trained in this format. So we're really excited about it.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
How many do you think are filming a month between here? I mean, LA, it's all you see on the breakdowns is
Yeah.
verticals.
Statistically,
Here, probably 25 at all times would be my guess.
here.
Wow. Yeah. It's a lot
But
of
yeah,
work.
but it's also hard to nail down because a lot of them are casting in like very odd ways. So you're not going to see a
Yeah.
breakdown. You're going to see like
Mm.
little weird messages, or they're
DMs in
emailing
your Instagram.
past, or like, yeah. So, but just
Wow.
judging by conversations with gear houses and with crew and who's working on what, maybe between 20 and 25 all the time.
And there
Wow.
are statistics
That's
that you can
worthy.
find. It's estimated that 3,000 of these are filming globally
Wow.
per month. So 3,000
Wow.
Yeah.
per month globally.
So it
Yeah.
is a worthy investment for actors who want to work out of school
Yeah, for
or
sure.
of any
And
age. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but I think that also, like, there are lots of, like, if of course you'll notice this as actors, like the second it gets quiet, all the acting schools, like those people need money now because they're not working as actors. So
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
like, and there's tons of offerings that sometimes I'm thinking
Mhm.
like, I would not want that person to teach any of these actors, but
Mm,
out there they are selling a class. So for this, we're going to screen people out as instructors in schools, and we're
yeah.
going to have a list of
I
people
love
who are
that.
allowed to teach it, and you'll always be able to go to our
Yeah.
website, and because otherwise people will just say that
I
they're
love that.
liars, right?
Yeah. They can
And
do
then
it.
we'll keep,
Yep.
yeah, and we'll keep a list of all the actors that completed it. And then if anyone wants to check in with us, or check the platforms want to check in and see, then we'll be able to say, yeah, they completed it. We just want to make sure there's a lot of accountability because I hate when people just kind of take money from actors.
Yep.
Because
Thank you for
like
saying that.
like
Yeah.
it's just like it feels like
Oh,
there's
it's
always
a
somebody.
whole other engine. Like if you look at as a
Yeah.
working,
Yeah.
try to become a working actor, how much money you spend a month on like
How much
all
money
your
you
radio
could
services,
spend.
your platforms, your headshots, your classes. I would just
Yeah.
want to drop this in and you can include this in here or not. But Monika deserves a place at the most senior executive casting and producers table. Monica's been casting for almost 10 years now. I hope I can. Well, anyways, I won't share the news that you shared with me about that certain award ceremony. Can I
Oh
say
yeah,
that?
no, we can't say it yet. No, we're not allowed
Okay.
yet.
But
To
Monika,
be linked.
some creative professionals don't know why something is good. They can't answer it. They'll just be like, oh, it's good. But if you ask them
Yeah.
what is good about it, they can't really define that. Monika has such a sophisticated way of understanding what resonates, what works. And so
Yeah.
when she talks about actors, when she talks about acting, she understands it from like she can see the patterns and how the molecules of sound and matter come together to make something incredibly cohesive on screen that resonates with audiences and really aligns with that particular story. And that I think is a hugely important ingredient in the storytelling product. So
Yeah.
anyways, I want to support
Absolutely.
that because this curriculum was established to help groom isn't quite the right word, but train
No, hire the bad word.
actors to really no, you can- to train actors in this new format to really be part of creating something that is broadcast quality and network level. It's a really valuable
Yeah.
offer.
Yeah, and our team also, like, we have Kelly McLeod on our team, who's our chief growth officer, and she was a business owner for many years. She's a teacher. She's a choreographer. She understands the education systems. She understands curriculum, design and development. Alicia understands basically everything. She understands things from a business perspective, from an actor perspective.
Yeah.
The three of us together, what we bring is that's why when we announced, like at first we were thinking like, do we keep quiet about this and go do it kind of quietly? But we realized quickly that like one of my jobs was literally at Simon Fraser University when it was called the Learning Instructional Development Center.
Monica's
taught
actually
professors-
120 years old. You would just never know it.
I know. We
I
actually
feel like
taught
you've lived
professors
50
how to
lives.
teach, right? I know, it's true. But like, because in university, your professors are not taught, like your professors are not teachers, right? They are
No.
people who are like, if it's a math professor, they're not a math professor because they want to teach math. They're a math professor because the university probably as a professor is funding your research.
Yeah.
And then part of your due diligence and your contract obligation is to teach a math
Yeah.
class, right? Like, so
Yeah.
you might get a really good professor who like loves teaching and that's a big part of what they do. But most of the time you're getting a professor who has research and lab at the university so that they can pursue what they really care about. And the teaching is a thing they just have to do. So
Yeah.
every university has a whole department on helping people who have to be a professor because it's in
Yeah.
their contract, teach. And that was one of the jobs that I had during university and then during my postgraduate work was working with people who know a topic very intimately and helping them teach it because teaching was not their first job. So anyway, we
Yeah.
figured if another person has worked with 20 more platforms worldwide in this space and they actually have a degree in designing and curriculum and teaching, then they can there's room for all these curriculums. You know what I mean? Like the more the merrier, but we're not
Yeah.
super worried about that. There being another
Yeah.
person like that. So we kind of feel like if other schools wanted to do their own, then that's cool. But like, I'm not sure that they'd be able to offer what we have to offer, which is part of
Yeah.
why we're offering
Yeah.
it in the first place is we want to have it to offer so that, I mean, we all benefit from it in the end, right? It'll make for
Help.
stronger
Yeah.
stories.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Actors get hired. We want to, and just full circle back to why
Yes.
Monika and
Yeah.
I really came together on the business side
Yeah.
initially was to make sure that this work was sustainable, that,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
cast and
Yeah.
crew could remain being working professionals in a space that was seeing a lot of people out of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as
And
we're talking
we
about a
know
strike
that-
again this year, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I have thoughts on that. I feel like in Canada, we would not suffer really from that strike,
Yeah.
but it would definitely be
Yeah.
a blow to acting in the US
LA.
where
Yeah.
it's already
Yeah.
really like a bit tedious right now. But I mean, our contract doesn't expire this year for UBCP and
Yeah.
ACTA. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we have a
would
couple
still
more
have to film
years,
here.
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
Heated Rivalry is a really good has been a really good
Yeah.
example too of that we can have shows that are Canadian, that are CanCon, that can do well. So I don't think we would necessarily suffer if there was a SAG strike, but I
Yeah.
definitely feel like
No, we'll see
collectively I
more.
would feel a sadness because people want to work, right? But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it has been amazing having you both on. I love that it's just like a whole
Truly.
team of women too that are coming out here and blazing the path in the space and creating safer sets, and that's so important. We're going to drop all your links in our episode notes, all of that, but is there anything else you want to say before we pop off?
In our effort to sort of be able to put ourselves into the shoes of producers, we did produce a vertical that will be coming out on Real Short on the 30th.
Yeah.
It's called The Billionaire's Fake Wife. It has Kendall Twat and Cayman Cardiff in it. Sammy Astenay is the main producer, and
Yeah.
everyone had a wonderful time on set. But we were there as VFSSA in a producing EP position also. And so it was a great opportunity for us to see the gaps and we saw from that set that you can do this work safely and you can do this work within a budget that is like it can be done. So I think we feel stronger now if producers are like, what do you like? You don't know what you're talking about. We can say, nope, we've done it. And we know that you can do it without hurting people. And you can do it with a heater and people can be fed and there can be water and you get a really good product. But that I would say that when it comes out on the 30th of January on Real Short. It's a Real Short exclusive.
Yeah.
It was, to toot our horns, it was the first Real Short original developed in Canada. So that was...
Ooh,
Yeah.
how exciting.
It's Canadian, one of the first with Canadian IP, so it was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll plug
Thank you for
that
having
in the
us.
show notes. Yeah, thanks for
Cool.
coming
Great.
on.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for having
ladies,
us.
so much. Oh my God, how lucky are we for that conversation?
It was amazing.
I could have listened to both of them talk for another hour, but we are
This
so
could
very
have been a
lucky for
5-hour podcast.
We're so very lucky for the time that we had with Alicia and Monika. Thank you so much. Again, all of their contacts, their links are going to be in the descriptions, or check us out on our Instagram, on our website. You'll find it all. You know, that's Michaela McIntosh, and I'm Kat Udane, and you are listening to the Gatecrashers podcast. Derek, let the beat play out.
Okay. Verticals.